All right, hello and welcome back to My Mom's Basement. It is Robbie Fox, and I am here with All Time Low. No pun intended, my all-time favorite band. This is the first time that I've ever gotten to interview you guys all together, and this is big.
Let's
go.
Is that
Yeah,
true?
let's do it.
That's true. Look at me.
Favorite
Tatted
band?
up.
Dude.
Let's go.
My first band ever, 6th grade, was called The Party Scene.
Damn.
I love
We
that.
were in
Thank you,
6th
man.
grade. I had never been to a party before. I'd never touched a sip of alcohol or drugs, obviously, but we were The Party Scene.
Hell yeah.
I love that.
It was a
How
bit
old are you
ironic.
now?
24.
You're 24?
Mhm.
Damn.
It's like we're watching you grow up right
Yeah.
before our
I
eyes.
thought you were
Yeah.
44. Yeah. I thought-
15 all-time low shows later. Here we
Unreal, man. That's what a way
Did you
to
just
start.
say I thought you were 45?
are. Some people do. We're here to talk about Tell Me I'm Alive, though, the new album from All Time Low, the 9th album from All Time Low. For the time being, you've caught up to Blink.
Oh,
Wild.
Is that true?
Yeah.
It's still kind of hotly debated whether or not it's 8 or 9 for us. I think at this point it's decided that it's 9 because everybody somewhere on the brief sheet that gets sent out they wrote 9 and now
Oh, did
everybody says
Does
it's
9 include the party scene?
I think it does.
Oh, see,
That
no,
would
I
be.
wouldn't
See,
include
it's like
that.
I feel
You
like the
don't
party
include
scene's
the party scene?
non-canon.
Sorry, man. Yeah.
Pre-signed All Time Low, I consider non-canon.
Yes.
Fair enough.
That was high school days.
Yeah, that's in the Star Wars terms, it's Legends content. now.
Exactly.
There we
exactly.
go,
We
there we
phased
go.
it into Legends.
Wow, it didn't take long, did it?
No, it didn't. It was real quick today. It was quick today. Yeah.
Me and Alex have a group chat where we just talk about Star Wars 24/7. And Ryan doesn't want to be in it. Zach would probably enjoy it, but
I'm just not invited.
but
tough.
Ryan has never.
I
seen
still
Star
have not
Wars.
seen
You
Star Wars.
famously
yeah.
walked out of a Star Wars after the crawl.
Did you really?
Still not over that.
Wait,
Famously.
I love famously. And also, what's the story?
It's on my birthday, no less.
Okay, let me
Fucked up.
On my
before we
birthday.
get moving. Yeah, we rented out a theater for Alex's birthday to see Star Wars 47.
Oh,
And
careful.
Just
I said, you know what? I'm not. What am I going to start at that one for?
Which
to be
one
fair,
was
it
it?
You were
was
with the
Rise of
fellas.
Skywalker. It was the
Oh,
last one.
Yeah.
Do you
That's
know-
a weird movie to start on.
It's not like going to a bar with the friends. Like, yeah, if it was like if I didn't drink and I went to a bar, of course I'd hang. Or if I
Yeah.
didn't eat vegan food, I'm not gonna sit there and chat about, hey, who's this guy again? in the 11th movie.
Maybe
bit
you
of
made
fun
the experience
introduction.
better for everyone
I
else
think
not
I
having
did.
to ask
Steve
the
and I
questions.
both left, by the way.
Well,
Luke's
I'll give
a
him
ghost.
shit for that later. The new album I love. I've had it on
Thank
repeat
you.
since it dropped. It feels to me like almost an evil twin of Wake Up Sunshine.
I like
feels like
that.
the darker side of that record really
Yeah.
comes out on Tell Me I'm Alive. Was that
Hell yeah.
intentional?
I think so. Yeah. I mean, it was very much a continuation. We wrote a lot of the beginnings of that record off the tail end of Wake Up Sunshine because obviously Wake Up Sunshine came out full lockdown. So we didn't have touring on our calendars at the time because the world was in crisis. So we went back into the studio and just kept making music.
We started writing for this record before we had ever played Wake Up Sunshine live.
That's crazy.
that's-
Are there any songs on that record currently that you started writing before then? That made it?
On Tell Me I'm Alive.
Yeah.
The earliest song
Sound
on
to
the
Let It
record
Go.
would be Set and Let It Go, which was written about like 7 or 8 months, or maybe like a year after Wake Up came out.
Yeah. The Way You Miss Me. was
Oh, yeah,
also
early.
Way back.
Are You There? They're all like
I'd
those
Be
were all
Fine.
written within a year of Wake Up coming out.
Yeah. Are You There definitely sounds very Wake Up Sunshine in that
Yeah.
great, like, the verses of that specifically.
That
Right
one's
on.
definitely taken a little bit of a life that we didn't expect. For especially like track 3 on the record, like, we love it, but it seems to be that one's talked about quite a lot in the fan base, which is cool.
It's funny. Our manager Nano, who's also a close friend of ours, was like the whole time when we were sequencing the record, he was like, "Guys, I really think they should close out the record." Blah blah blah. Record comes out. People are talking about Are You There a lot. He goes, "I was wrong." He was like, "Yeah, no, it should be out there."
I love the way you close the record, though. Can we start this record over as the lyric for the final
Very
song?
meta.
Sick.
Very meta.
Yeah.
It put its hand up. It was like, this has to be last, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Sometimes you write a song and it just makes sense. It's like, that's the last song, or that's the first song. With like Tell Me I'm Alive, it was like we didn't have the album title yet. We didn't have track 1 yet. We wrote that one, and Jack and I were on the way to a show after we wrote
Paul
it,
McCartney.
and we kind of went like, that feels like track 1. Like I think we just did the one that's like that defines the record, kind of sums it all up. So that's always a good feeling when you kind of in the moment that you've written that one.
Do you guys feel like this is the darkest all-time low album thematically?
It has to be.
Yeah.
I think it has to be. It was written during a really dark time, and I think, whether it was introspective or sort of more big picture, it was a lot of the lyrics are reflective about, I think, what a lot of people were feeling and going through during some pretty rough times. So, and then like the
called it-
adjustment
yeah.
back into the world as things
Yeah.
normalize, like, which everybody I think didn't realize was going to be so rocky. So yeah, it was.
Someone online called it emo Wake Up Sunshine, and I was like, sick. I love that.
Yeah.
It's definitely the other side of the coin, I think,
Yeah.
for sure.
And what about the album cover itself? You went very simplistic with this one. Where did that inspiration
Yeah,
come from?
Andrew, our collaborator, he's been working with us on the last few, and he just kind of presented this very minimalist thing, and I kind of felt like it was, short, sweet, and to the point, but it also felt pretty iconic, and it felt like it really grabbed a hold of me when I first saw it, and then from there I just didn't want to question it. You know what I mean? I went, like, the first time I saw it, I went, that feels really memorable, and I don't want to overthink this. And so we just leaned into it.
I think a lot of us, probably all of us, when we think of like great album artwork, my mind goes to Takeoff by Blink.
Yeah.
And just how simple and just memorable it was. And we hadn't done one like that. I guess Future Hearts was kind of just bam, right on there.
Yeah.
But like a lot of our artwork is kind of busy and it's a
True.
lot to look at. And, with this longer record and like this, like he said, thematically darker record, it was kind of nice just to have bam, like a stamp of like, okay, here it is.
Yeah. And what was the dichotomy like of being in this amazing cabin, having the best time with your boys, but also writing like the saddest songs you've ever written?
We all just kept asking each other if we were okay, and it was fine.
Is that just like, all right, like you're happy writing sad songs? Is that weird?
Yeah, I mean, sometimes it's good to get it out. I mean, it's
Yeah.
like it's reflection, and it's sometimes it's a stepping stone through the process of your own. I don't want to say grieving, but like if you are in a dark place going through something, that's always been my avenue. My outlet has been to write about it, and I think for me it's really helpful to sometimes put it into words and put it into a form that other people can maybe relate to. So yeah, I mean it gets me through it at least.
The sad songs were written after midnight. The happy ones were written before.
I was going to say that I think one thing, and I've said this about Alex plenty of times, and I'll say it again in front of him so he knows it's real.
Hello.
But
Here
I
we
think
go.
one of the reason this band has had the success it has because he can write very personal lyrics, but make them feel like they were written for me or for you. They're not like so to the point that it's like, wait, what? That didn't happen to me. Like I can make them work in my mind that he's had a different life experience altogether than me. But I'm like, oh man, he's singing my words right now, you know?
Very Noel Gallagher of you.
Thank
Universal
you.
truths.
Thank you, Ryan. I can't get over the recline.
I'm so
the
confused.
recline of this chair. Is
Yeah.
Also,
wild.
is that an Ash Ketchum hat?
Yeah, that is exactly
I
what
was
that
like
is.
just staring at that.
The green screen room at Barstool is things are broken, things
Yeah,
are
I was going
torn
to say, let's
like
apart.
point
it.
out the fact that we're at Barstool headquarters at 9:45 in the morning.
Only
and
ones
we're
here.
the only ones here. Like,
Yeah, work doesn't start till noon here. All right, let's get into the album itself. Tell Me I'm Alive, as you mentioned, you were on your way to a Paul McCartney show.
Yeah.
And I feel like you could hear a Beatles influence in this. It almost sounds like a pop punk, pop rock version of A Day in the Life with the
I love
piano
that.
coming in, with the change in, midway. I've also heard you say Paul McCartney and Dave Grohl are your two songwriting inspirations.
Yeah, big time.
What do you feel you can take from them separately when you listen to their music?
I think there's an inventiveness to Paul's writing and just a lack of boxing yourself into one thing that I've always loved. I mean, the Beatles wrote so much good music, and I think one of the things that made them so unique was that they were constantly changing their sound up. From record to record, there's no uniform thing, and they put a lot of records out in a pretty short amount of time, and to make that many changes and jumps creatively, I think is really inspiring, and it's what made them so influential, I think. I mean, obviously they were lifting from all kinds of genres and all kinds of music from all over the place, but I think the way they smashed it all together was just really interesting. So I've always taken them as a good example of like how to continue to make things fresh. And then Dave, I just think writes phenomenal rock and roll music
From
Like,
the heart
he's-
too. It's always like you can like feel.
Yeah,
he's coming from a
It's-
place.
He's just a guy that I look at and go like, that's the way to make rock music. I mean, in every sense of the word. And so he's just always been someone that I've really looked up to as a frontman, as a performer, a musician, and a good dude in the industry. And
I was going to say a way to carry yourself through
yeah,
success.
true.
Yeah.
And he grew up going to Ocean City, Maryland, so he's just like us.
Right?
That's right.
Hey, Pop
East
Punk is
Coast
playing Ocean
Celebrities
City,
just
Maryland.
like us.
Festival.
I saw that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
crazy.
I'm gonna be there.
I'm real nervous about it, if we're being honest.
It's gonna be sick.
I mean, half our set is gone because the bands that we play covers of are playing.
I think you just do it anyway.
I don't
Just
know
get
if
out
they'd
there
be
and play those
happy.
songs.
Yeah, if we
So
play the
good.
middle right before Jimmy Eat World, they might be like, "What the fuck?"
We played this festival with Weezer one time, and MGMT was headlining it, and Weezer played after MGMT, and MGMT didn't play Kids, the big song, and Weezer came out and opened with it, and I thought that was so
sick.
I saw the Hella Mega Tour last year. Fall Out Boy had COVID, so Weezer came out and did Sugar I'm Going Down.
There you go. Sweet. Cool.
That was cool. Weezer's also on the festival I'm playing, so I'll steal one of their songs. But I could totally hear that Beatles influence. I think that's an awesome way to kick off the record.
Yeah, I was doing kind of a deep dive at the time. I mean, I grew up with the Beatles playing constantly. Like, my parents listened to the Beatles all the time, and so it was very much one of those bands that was like heavily ingrained in me from a young age. Even when I got back into listening to the Beatles at an older age, I was like, oh yeah, this song. Oh yeah, this song.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I was just there. And so I went and did like a big catalog dive as we were making this album. So
you were watching the documentary too,
yeah,
right?
I think some of that influence and those sounds and the way that they would sort of experiment with putting unusual instrumentation on songs that you wouldn't expect it, that became a big focus of this record. I think, that exists on Tell Me I'm Alive a little bit. Calm Down has a section in the second verse that gets very Beatlesy for a second, and just like peppering that in was super fun.
Yeah. Modern Love, the next one, another one that begins with piano. How big is Dan Swank on this record? Do you go into this being like, I want to make an all-time low record incorporating piano, or is that just he's in the room and he's got a keyboard?
Swank's bigger than he's ever been on this record. It's 10 feet tall.
Dan Swank, he's so hot right now.
So hot right now. Dan. For those who don't know, Dan started playing with us on stage as our aux musician. And one of the great things that he brought to the table was that he is pretty good at piano, and none of us play piano all that well, and we never thought to do it on stage. And
that was just a cough. I wasn't sorry.
Just something to say
Ryan
about that?
actually does.
Ryan took piano
literally
lessons
just
like
a
years
cough.
ago.
It was just bad timing on that.
None of us play piano. Ryan's like,
We never played piano on stage. So adding Dan kind of opened up this whole thing for us live, and then from there we just said, well, why not start kind of putting that in the music now that we can more freely. And Modern Love, he actually came to me early morning one day that we were in Colorado and working on the record, and he had this piano line and had like the beginnings of that intro, and I was just like, that's iconic. That's a really memorable moment.
it reminded me of like early like Something Corporate or something, or Jack's Mannequin.
Yeah.
Sick.
I think what I love is, with songs, it's like if you have a riff that's really signature or something that the first 3 seconds of the song, you're like, I know that song. Yeah. And he came with that riff, that piano piece, and I just went like, that's one of those moments that you start playing that live and the crowd's like, oh, it's that one. So yeah, he killed it with that, and we sort of dove in on that song all day that day, and it came together really quickly, and it's a fun one live. It also has like a little bit of a vibe of like our older song Stella.
Yeah.
So since we started playing it live, we kind of do like a mashup, which has been really fun.
I saw that on the Wembley live stream.
Yeah,
It was great. Yeah. Did you go in the swing direction right away with this one too?
Yep.
It was, yeah.
He presented it in that feel, and we have a rule. Like there's a golden rule of like you can only do one swing song every 2 records.
I think that's a good rule.
Yeah.
So it's like I think Wake Up Sunshine, we did a 6/8.
Yeah.
We did no swing.
Was that Trouble Is?
Trouble Is.
Yeah. And then like the record before that. Oh no, it was Dancing with a Wolf on
Don't Panic. We had to have one on Future Hearts.
Future
Oh,
Hearts.
Future
Yeah.
Hearts.
Yeah, Future Hearts. So, but then we gave it some time before we wrote another one.
And in my head canon for this song is that you're singing about the same Stacy that Fountains of Wayne sang about.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All growing up.
Absolutely. What would your mother say?
That's
It's
pretty
right there
good,
in the
right?
song.
I think, are you the first person to get that?
Am I really?
so.
I think
It's
you're
weird
the
because you're our friend. I always forget that you're good at your job too.
Thanks. I appreciate
But
that.
you're the first person to say that, and it's true.
Unreal.
Yeah.
That was really the intention?
We all said it in the room. We went
That's
like,
fucking
oh,
crazy.
Yeah.
That is, I'm so glad that's confirmed. Are you there? As you mentioned, I love the bass and drums on this one. You guys too. Not
I
leaving
didn't
you guys
do. We
out.
didn't do shit.
But the
Literally
rhythm
didn't do
section
shit.
on this one, the way it comes in, the drum sound is so good on that. Do you have just a drum sound at this point where you're like, every album I know what I want my drums to sound like?
It's interesting you say that. No.
Yeah, the drums sound different on some songs.
But
yeah.
It's, I mean, I think a little bit of his playing style. Like I remember Zach Cervini, a producer we've worked with for this record and a few of our previous ones. As soon as we're like line checking, like getting sounds, and I hit the snare, he always says, I can tell it's you playing by the way you hit. And I don't know if he's just being nice, but I put a lot of my trust in Alex, Phil Gornell, and Cervini as far as what drums to use on what song, and I just kind of bash them.
And then what about you for writing bass parts?
I usually do like a scratch part, and then at the end, when all the vocals are finally done, I go in and then I can kind of match everything that goes together, so I don't like rub on chords and things like that.
My favorite thing you do is at the end of songs, you always put a little flavor in there in the last chorus.
I try and
I was
build.
gonna say, when do you like find the flavor? Because there's so many like Zach Merrick parts that are like a little bit of flavor.
I usually start like small and kind of build on that, and then just try and see where it goes. And usually there's some sort of moment or like a melody change or something, or even like an ad lib I can follow. That
I was gonna say on Wake Up, you started following like in the last chorus like a counter melody of Alex's on bass. And it's
and
a lot
like
on the new record.
your bass playing's evolved too, like more chords, some pick playing, right?
Oh yeah, definitely. I remember you messaged me. You're like, "Are you using a pick on this?" I was like, "No, but yes."
A 5-string, right? You got a
5-string,
to
yeah,
calm
yeah.
down on this one.
Yeah.
How do you decide when to use a 5-string?
I started using those a couple years ago because I was like, we were missing like something on what was it? What song was it? I'm trying to think.
Life of the Party, was it?
Maybe it was Life to the Party or something like that. And I was like, we're missing something here. And I was like, can someone go get me a 5-string real fast? And like that's how it started evolving from there. And so now I kind of use it in last choruses, or if there's like a slower song where Tell Me I'm Alive has it at the beginning and at the end as well. So
it's like a little treat for me every time. Like once we're done a record, I don't really go back and listen to it all that much, but like it's been a few weeks since it came out. So the other day I like popped it on and just gave it a listen through. And I found myself like at the end of every song, I'm just like doing a Zach Merrick bass line fist bump.
He always does, yeah.
There's always
So
like a
sick.
cool run that is just like, it's a little nugget at the end of every song.
Are
I'm
You
like,
There has
yeah.
an amazing one.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That was my
Other
favorite
Side,
part of the
yeah.
listen through was the bass riffs.
you're welcome.
Always my
Thank
favorite
you.
part. I need you guys to send me like the Pro Tools version with the bass.
The
I
stems.
love
We got
that.
bass
Yeah,
stems
send me
for
the
you.
stems.
Just bass and click, bass and kick drum.
Bass and kick drum is all I need. You sent me, what was it on the last album? Was it
Sleeping.
Safe?
Was it safe?
With the hi-hats boosted?
Oh, yeah.
Just the hi-hats boosted. Sleepwalking. First single off the album. I saw a video of you guys doing this in the studio where Jack had his hand on a whammy. That's not how you really recorded it, is it?
It
It
is.
sure was.
Yeah, we were just
What?
fucking around. We
I'm
didn't-
not good enough at guitar or pedals to do that in real time.
Is
I can do one or the other.
So do you start Sleepwalking with that riff and build the song around it?
Yeah, it was kind of
Yeah.
like when we wrote the song with Andrew Goldstein, and it started on keyboard. It was a synth line, and when we got to the studio to kind of take it from a demo to a full song, we were like, I think this would feel better if it was sort of a very heavily manipulated guitar instead of a synth, and that way we can recreate it a bit more authentically live. And also it's just kind of fun to in the studio play around with those kinds of sounds. It's one thing to have a preset and be like, oh, that sounds cool, but it's another thing to like plug 4 pedals together and then see what it sounds like, and it ends up doing the same thing, but it's just cool to be able to say we like created this.
Yeah.
We made this. But yeah, we
It was
needed-
very, and I helped when I was doing that moment.
it was
He's
very
like a little
much,
brother with the extra N64
Yeah.
Here you
controller.
go, Jack. Play with this pedal. while
It's plugged in, yeah.
What was worse though was that I had learned the riff, like the way to play the riff, so like as it is, and then introducing the whammy pedal because it shifted the note for you. I had to relearn the whole damn riff.
Or are you
'Cause, like,
playing a different note live now?
Well, basically, like you hold one note and then the pedal shifts the note up.
Yeah.
So it's like it went from being like a 7 or 8 note part to like a 3 note part
Yeah.
playing wise, and then Jack was doing all the heavy lifting. So I was like, I just kept fucking it
So
up.
when it came to playing it live, Alex was like, I'm just going to sing.
I don't play.
Good idea.
I chose not to play at all.
It's actually one of my favorite parts to play live. Like I don't know. I love that moment of the
That
show.
song as a
Yeah,
whole
it's
is
so fun.
Yeah, that
really
song's
fun
great.
live.
Was there any songs in this album that were like a true pain in the ass to figure out?
The Sound of Letting
Sound
Go was a really tough one to get the balance right.
For the mix,
Yeah,
the production.
it's like I feel like we went back. Most songs only get to like V5, V6
Yeah.
when the Dropbox folder's getting updated. I think Sound of Letting Go was V16,
Oh, wow,
the one
yeah.
that got sent out.
just like
for-
the hi-hats a little lower, the guitar a little up.
And
And I was like,
is-
no, that's
is
all right.
V1 totally different than V16, or is it just slight tweaks every time?
The feel of like the chorus is all it was really. Like the verse, the feel of the verse kind of is self-explanatory, like it works, and then the chorus would come in, and the original was kind of more like more rock and like really in your face, and it was just too much.
The song went really linear. It
Yeah.
needed that dynamic. But it's actually pretty funny though, because I'm sure if I went back and listened to V1 now, after painstakingly obsessing over it to V16, I'm sure I'd hear V1 and be like, oh, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
We should have put that one out. And that is the battle of like making. I'm sure like recording and making music. Sometimes you just go down this stupid obsessive rabbit hole, and it's like, did we need to do this? But hey, we got it to a point, and I love it now. So that's all that matters.
It's a great song. The next one, Calm Down. I love Calm Down. And some of the calm downs at the end of the chorus go up so high. It
Yes.
reminds me of like a Mike Hem thing, kind of like a Gerard Way. Is that strenuous on your voice? Was this the hardest song to sing?
It sure is.
I
Yeah.
posted a video of Alex doing the bridge, I think, which is like pretty up there, and like you sound like he killed it, but
The
you
veins
definitely
are bulging.
you definitely like had to stand up and like.
It's sometimes it's like he even forgets because like when we went to rehearse this to play it live, like you get to the last chorus and he's like, oh, that's high. Even Swank is like, I cannot hit that. And
Literally translating it. Yeah, you forget because in the studio you're just so locked in, and you'll like especially demoing it, like you only have to sing it a couple times and nail it. And a lot of the time, like those demo vocals do make it over to the finals, and I just like tweak parts that don't feel right. But like, yeah, we got on stage to do this one live, and I like by the end of it, I think we did one run through, and I was like, oh, what have we done? Why did I sign up for this? But yeah, no, it's great though because it kind of it's nice when we write music that still challenges us, I think, as performers to have to get a little bit better because like I have to now train my voice up a little bit and get the muscle memory to hit that every night live, and I think ultimately that like is going to make me hopefully a better performer, or I'll just lose my voice every night. We'll see.
it was a late ad. Calm Down was to the
Last song.
yeah.
The last one, really?
It was the Hail Mary at the end. We always kind of like throw one more out there, like right when we feel like the record's done, we sort of like pitch one more.
Yeah.
And that was the one that kind of came out, and
Like most
I'm
songs are
glad.
already mixed at that point.
yeah.
Wow. I love the background vocals and the verses as well. There's a song later on I'll say this about as well. Reminds me of something off American Idiot or Black Parade. The kind
Love
of high
that.
harmonies.
Yeah.
I really like that. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, it was. I think we were going for something again, like in that Beatles-y Beach Boys kind of vibe. But it's funny how it has the parallels from like some older music like that, and then the Mike Hems and the Green Days and stuff. Yeah,
You could definitely, this album I feel like is the epitome of like all of your influences coming together.
hell yeah, I love that.
Yeah. What about for you, we're talking about like strenuous songs in your voice, screams at the end of songs, something like Glitter and Crimson or the end of Drugs and Candy. What was the one you remember in the studio being like, fuck, I don't know how we're going to do this?
It's tough. I have to I feel like there's usually in the studio there's like a day. There's like a scream day where I haven't quite nailed it, and then I know I'm going to blow my voice out that day. So I kind of specifically go back through a bunch of songs and just nail those because I know I'm not going to have a voice for 3 days after. So I have to like finish all the vocals first, and then we can go back and get like that kind of performance stuff. But to be honest, like there's some people who can scream like every show and be totally
Grohl,
fine.
good
There's a
example.
right way to do it, and I'm not doing it right. Yeah. I don't know. I gotta practice.
There's a good one out of into the fast part or out of the normal part of Tell Me I'm Alive. That's kind of like buried with some instrumentation, but it's a good little scream.
Yeah. I love a good Alex Gasco scream.
Yeah.
You break a couple of those out in an album, it's always great. English Blood, American Heartache. I love this song. The song, the lyric about making a sunshine, writing a record to make the sunshine. Is there any other lyrical connections to previous all-time low work on this album?
Yeah, I want to say for sure. There's a few, but I can't think of them off the top of my head.
There's a song coming out. There was a song coming out at some point that we'll be releasing that has a great throwback line.
Yeah.
You heard it here first.
What a mystery! What a mystery!
You heard it here first.
What? I don't even
10
know.
years from now.
I'm trying. I'm trying to think of what it is. I don't know. Truly,
That's
so
like
it's a great
there's,
one.
I think, is it the second Guardians movie? James Gunn says there's still an Easter egg that people haven't found. This is
Really?
an
Yeah.
all-time low version.
this is
Really?
it.
Yeah.
He's just saying that.
Yeah,
he
that's
probably is.
People are just up all night like looking for it in the
Dissecting
movie.
every frame. Yeah.
He's just seeing the streaming numbers of the movie because there's like one guy in his basement like, what the fuck is it? James Gunn's like, yes, royalties.
Going back to English, that's another one that took a little while to get the verses right lyrically and melodically. The chorus kind of fell into itself pretty easily, but verses for that one, I remember you had to go back and do it a few times.
Yeah,
like
rewrote it
3-4
like
different
3 or 4
verses.
times.
I
Yeah.
like the verse. There's a clever line, "Why is my nose bleeding?" Where I don't know why. I like that flip there.
Oh, the little like the wordplay.
Yeah.
I like a good wordplay.
I like a good wordplay too. And then Ryan, classic Travis Barker bridge
Yeah,
on the
very much
snare.
so.
Let's go.
I love that. And this album has so many awesome break into the last chorus.
You know what? This is like we're becoming known as the bridge band. Like even like a lot of our fans are saying it now. Like that we just like the bridges are the strongest part of the song. I don't know if that's a good thing because typically your chorus is meant to be the best part of the song. But like if songwriters out there, if you need a bridge, we're your guys.
It's kind of interesting though because I find that music a lot of a lot of new music, newer bands are kind of doing away with the bridge. They're doing half verse 2s, chorus 2 into chorus 3, or maybe like
We have a couple of
another
those as
pre.
well.
And yeah, but like, so the fact that we still can write a bridge that works and keeps people's attention, I think is pretty important, because otherwise they might just be skipping after chorus 2 to the next song.
Yeah.
You know what's crazy is Blink doesn't really write bridges.
Musical bridge.
Mu-
that is-
yeah,
yeah.
live-
Yeah.
They're the
musical
kings
bridge.
of music.
Don't Panic was our musical bridge record.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Backseat.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, a lot of them.
a lot of them on that one. That's one of my favorites. That record came out. I was a freshman in high school, and I would put my iPod in my pocket, run the headphones
yeah.
up my sleeve.
I used to do that
and
too,
then
man.
just
I
do
love
the-
it. Yeah,
Yes,
mine
that
was
was
an
the
Discman though.
Over
So
and
like if
over
you
again.
move too much, it'll skip.
Eating,
that
eating a hot
60
dog out
you
of
need
your
that
sleeve.
60-second skip.
And the Irving Plaza show, I remember being a huge. No, it was Webster Hall being a huge live stream event.
Oh yeah, that was
That's
like
right.
3 countries in
Yeah.
like 3 days or something.
Yeah, that was pretty sweet. That was the first
bonkers.
place I ever played a gig, a Battle of the Bands. That
Oh,
was
really?
a studio at Webster Hall. Pretty
Yes.
intimidating.
Nice.
I like that. venue.
Crazy.
It was that, and then it was the Stone Pony for the
Let's
Bamboozle
go.
Break Contest.
Oh,
Yep.
A
Yep.
little
that.
different for us. It must be weird, like living here and like being those at your first
Those are
venues,
the
whereas
venues,
we're
yeah.
doing like St. John's, Phoenix.
Ours were
Yeah.
churches,
Yeah.
church halls.
My uncle Gary got us a gig at the VFW in Hartford.
Did you ever get like kicked out of a church when you were like, because you were doing like the
Rocketown.
Blink style on-stage band?
We played a show. It was in
Nashville.
Nashville,
Still there.
and no one told us that it was a Christian venue going in. And I said a lot of swear words on stage that day, and we were asked. I think they cut our set short. And we were asked to leave.
we were banned. It was Rocketown.
Yeah, Rocketown.
Sorry,
So our manager,
sorry, God.
our manager Nano, before he was our manager, put on a local show in a local VFW hall in Northern Virginia, and he comes up to us. He's like, "Hey guys, I'm Nano. Nice to meet you. Just make sure you just don't incite like crowd surfing, blah blah." blah. We're like, totally. And like first song, we opened a coffee shop. We're like, everyone open this shit up, and immediately the venue gets shut down forever.
Nano lost
And
it.
Nano just that's our introduction to our first manager.
Borstal almost got the Stone Pony shut down because they used to do foam parties,
Yep.
and some idiot like loaded the foam cannon like the wrong way, and they shot foam into someone's eye. And, like,
Oh.
a ball of foam went in. They sued the Stone Pony and everything.
Oh no.
Damn.
Yeah, so we almost shut down an iconic
Yeah,
music
that's
venue there.
again different than shutting down Nano's shitty venue.
Yeah.
That's a good venue, man. That's a good venue.
He's never let us live it down.
Virginia.
Back to the album, The Sound of Letting Go. Another one where I love the production. You said it took a while to get right.
Yep.
You have production credits on every song on this album, right?
I'm a very selfish person.
Is that the first all-time low album where you've done that or no?
I
Wake Up.
don't think so. I think it was either Last Young Renegade or Wake Up Sunshine, but it was actually like Zach, our producer, kind of advocating for me. Like just basically at some point during one of the record processes, he was like, "Do you credit yourself as a producer on this stuff? Because I like admittedly go in a little too hard on everything, a control freak." And he was like, "You should be getting producer credit."
Yeah, I was gonna say whether or not he was credited, it's not
So
like
it's not a change.
Yeah.
Zach
No, no,
Zach
no.
knighted
Yeah.
me.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
Zach, our producer, gave me the permission, basically, which was very kind.
Gotcha. So specifically with this song, what's the like production influence that you're looking for?
I was thinking of like with that sort of stabby piano that's kind of synthy off the top. Like I was envisioning a little bit of like Elton John, a little bit of Queen, but then just combining that with something modern and something.
There's some 1975 guitars on it, like kind of like
Yep.
we call them like the little jingly guitars.
Yeah.
Jingle
I
jangles.
get Weezer chorus feel.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
like
definitely
a lot of space
like
in between
yeah,
the
yeah,
hits
yeah.
and everything.
I could hear that.
There's not a lot of feel good songs on the record, and so that one was a really important one to me to get right because it's a moment of like levity and saying, literally saying fuck it and letting it go. It was an important arc, I think, for the character in the record. There's a little bit of a loose story through the whole thing, and I think that's a bit of a turning point for like what the character's going through. And it was important just because so many of the songs on the album are heavy and introspective and dealing with a lot of darker themes, and so it was good to get one in there that was like, here's your moment of like, you're okay,
Yeah.
you're good in all of this, you're still good.
I know you view some of the all-time low albums as like connective tissue, like connected thread. Last Young Renegade is a weird fever dream, and then you wake up from it with Wake Up Sunshine. Is this one in that canon? Do you look at it with those, or do you view it as its own thing?
This one feels a little bit more standalone, but I mean, there's definitely connective threads. I mean, there's references to past records like we talked about with English Blood, referencing Wake Up Sunshine. And I think this one, though, feels like the most kind of self-contained story for a little probably since Last Young Renegade.
Yeah.
So Wake Up Sunshine was just kind of a body of work, you know. It was
Yeah.
just songs, but this one definitely has like a through line, I think.
This one has my favorite lyric on the album as well.
Really?
The lyric about your mom.
Ah, yeah,
Said
yeah,
it gets
yeah.
better someday because she's doing okay.
Mm-hmm.
That's an awesome lyric.
My mom was going through some rough stuff at the time, and she was taking it like an absolute champion. And I was going through some things of my own, and I was like, look, if my mom's getting through what she's getting through right now, like I need to suck it up and do a little better for myself. So yeah, it was an inspiring one.
Awesome line. New
Thanks, Mom.
Religion. I absolutely love New Religion. Feels
Yeah.
like one of the most ambitious, one of the bravest out there songs in the album. Got Teddy Swims featured on it.
Yeah.
First off, how did that come about? He's
We,
not the first person I would think of to be featured on an all-time low song.
Literally, we were
Sure.
playing
Bonnaroo.
Bonnaroo.
Yeah, Bonnaroo.
And our dressing rooms were right next to each other. We had never met before. We were fans of his. And he came up to Alex or all of us and was like, you guys are a huge part of why I sing.
Holy
Like,
shit.
you are one of my
Yeah.
favorite bands. And we were like, oh my gosh. And, you know,
Then
he's.
we did some shots, and the rest is history.
Yeah. And then he went on stage and it was just unbelievable. We had never seen him live.
Yeah, his
And
voice
his
is
voice is-
crazy.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
good.
Unreal.
And we
man.
were like, we literally just said, we're like, man, we should do some stuff together. He was like, hell yeah. And then that was it.
Is this the first all-time low song with like religious themes?
It has to be.
Ooh.
It has to be. I was getting so many. Once again, I'm just Rocket Town to this. I'm sorry for letting you down.
It is
God.
Easter Monday.
And on Easter Monday, no less. Yeah, it has to be. And like, this was the song I think because you know it's not really about religion.
No.
It's let's be honest.
A little euphemism there.
It's a little bit of a euphemism, and it's the first one. It's the first time where I've like looked in my DMs and like had the angry religious people coming for me.
I figured you probably would.
Yeah.
I love that.
So again,
I've been a fan for so long. How could you?
it's not that deep. I'm sorry.
Hey, in a true Beatles way, you're like all-time low's bigger than Jesus.
Another, not to toot our own horns here, but this bridge.
Awesome bridge.
This
And
bridge.
it hits the final chorus so hard. This is my personal all-time low fan request to you guys. I want you guys to jam the fuck out of this live like you did
Yeah.
with Life at the
Ooh.
Party.
Oh yeah.
Like when you go hard into that,
Yeah.
this is the song that did that for me on this album.
Hell
where I was
yeah.
like,
Oh, hell
holy
yeah.
shit, I just want that to go on another 30 seconds with them going hard.
I'm glad you said that because I've heard some people say, "Man, that song's so poppy." I'm like, it has a breakdown. Like it has an actual breakdown in it.
Yeah.
I think that was kind of a conscious thing though. Like we knew that song is super poppy, and you know, I was directly looking at like The Weeknd and 1975 and like Prince when we wrote that song. Like that was kind of the target zone for it, and like All Time Low doing that. And but you know, to balance it out, it was kind of like we should throw in like a heavy moment here.
Yeah.
And it's, you know, it's heavy in a way that it fits the song, I think, but like it is fun to kind of sneak a breakdown into
Yeah,
something like
doesn't
that.
take you out of it, but
For sure.
it definitely
We
gives you a
haven't
new
done many
vibe.
breakdowns, to be honest. Like Weightless has one, but yeah,
Yep.
we don't do it very much.
I
For
used
sure.
to play weightless in my band, and I used to turn my bass so high for breakdowns that like the song would end, and everyone in the band would be like, "You're fucking kidding me, right?" The way you did that? Yeah. The Way You Miss Me, such a melancholy, bittersweet feel from the jump. You guys are so good at doing that at this point. How do you achieve that sound just from the music before lyrics even come in?
I think that's a great question. I mean, I think it's just about making a sound bed that doesn't fight with the tone of the song, like the theme of the song. I think with somber, melancholy tracks, I think that the main goal is to not battle. Like it's usually like a bit more. You're making a sound bed for the sentiment to live in, live on. And I think if you always have these other elements kind of trying to come to the forefront, and like you might do in more of a rock song, where it's like this is the guitars moment, this is the drums moment. You know, I think with a song like that, you're looking to make like sort of an even playing field for the song to kind of like let the lyric
Every
breathe.
breath you take, baby.
Yeah.
I was gonna say it is kind of like discipline, because for a song that kind of lets you float along like that, it's very easy to want to jump out and like you know, pick a moment here or like step on a vocal or whatever, and just to
Yeah, I had to keep telling Ryan to stop trying to do the drum solo.
I brought my double kick out for that. I was like, brrr.
Chill out, man.
We're doing the one headlight, no cymbals, man.
Yeah.
No cymbals.
But it's true, and like it is difficult because especially a band like us, generally each song has some sort of like crescendo into chorus 3. You know what I mean? You want chorus 3 to be kind of like this moment, and as a drummer, usually that means like, you know, I'm moving to crash, or I'm just really being dynamic. With this song, I know doing it for so long that the discipline is, okay, we're going to open the hi-hat just an eighth of an inch. So instead of it's and that's it. And that's all you need. And nobody notices it, but as the song and as a listener, you don't get bored either. Like little subtle changes like that make a big difference in this kind of song.
And even just like for you guys with a song like you said, where it's not a rock song, where you don't have those moments, is it almost like a puzzle? Like, is it almost more fun figuring out those parts?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, it's definitely like a puzzle. It's in the beginning, it's just like, all right, cool. I'm just gonna be riding this for a little while, and then I'll find it when it's there. But yeah, you know.
It's all about doing like I feel like our band has always been about doing what's best for that song, not just making it. Hey, let's all-time lo-fi this. Like let's do whatever is best for that, and if it works on the record, cool. And if it doesn't, scrapped.
That's another big Beatles thing. I feel like we mentioned before, the evolution of the sound. Every all-time low record has a different sound.
For sure.
Where it's like you could totally tell them apart by the first 10 seconds of a song.
I think it's really tricky, you know, coming from the world that we came from and being sort of cast as a pop punk band. Like we never really set out to be a pop punk band or to really be any type of band. Like obviously that was our inspiration when we first started. But I think one of the things that's been great about our journey and I think why we've been able to stick around as long as we have is that it's really never been about, okay, we got to make a pop punk record. This song has to conform to these specific rules in order to be this thing. Like we've just sort of let it guide itself. And I think, you know, sometimes that pisses the fans off and sometimes it pisses the critics off. And it's, you know, it's one of those things. But I think the constant challenging of what we're going to do next is a really important thing in like bringing people along for the ride with us. And I think it's helped us grow as a band because, you know, we've never, I don't think ever pigeonholed ourselves into, you know, doing one thing too much. Because I think doing the same thing for 20 years, people
at the end of the day, we're the ones that are playing this music, and we're
got to
the ones
live with
that
it.
have to live with it for the rest of our lives. Like whether or not we play it for the rest of our lives, we still made it. So like if we're not happy with it, if we're like, oh man, that was the record we didn't want to make, I can't believe, like that's horrible. So yeah,
I also feel like that makes the music age well though. Like with all the bands I love, if they make an album that sounds just like their last album, I feel like I love it in the moment and that I don't find myself going back to it as much.
For sure.
When someone has a complete body of work where I could go, all right, I want a poppy all-time low song. All right, now I want a pop punk. Now I want a rock. Like you have that entire spectrum where you could have that in just your music.
We're like a musical buffet.
A buffet of music from all time low. Yes.
The Golden Corral of
Put that on the next record.
Of all places.
Yeah,
Robbie Fox from Barstool Sports says
the Golden Corral.
the Golden Corral of pop punk.
And it might piss the fans off sometimes, but it's also like, all right, if you have a poppy song on one album, I looked back at you had a quote after Nothing Personal, Jack, where you're like, yeah, the fans told us we went too poppy for that one.
Dude,
yeah,
for Nothing Personal.
I like telling this story. When Weightless came out, the top comments were like, oh, they're using like a digital track. It's like, oh, they're using a digital beat,
the
like
drum loop at the
because of
beginning.
the drum
Yeah.
loop, and
Drums.
like now it's like one of our biggest songs.
Oh, they sold out. That was a big thing.
Yeah, and I was like, and it's interesting, and I feel that way about certain records as well.
Do you
know,
feel
of other
that when
bands.
you're like, these people are saying go back to Nothing Personal, and you're like, in Nothing Personal, you were saying go back to So Wrong It's Right.
Yeah, you just kind of get used to it.
There
and,
is a yes.
People come around to it. I think the best part about it is like we've been very fortunate genuinely to like even when those moments have happened of people being like, oh, I don't know, this is a bit different for me. Like typically after some time, people come around. Like we put out Last Young Renegade and the first single we put out from that record was Dirty Laundry. And a lot of people went, what is this? Like this doesn't sound like anything All Time Low's ever done before.
And now when we play live, like it goes off.
It's
Yeah,
kind
it
of a
goes off.
staple of our show now. And it's like, it's rare that we play a show and don't play that song. And it's one of the bigger moments of the set. So it's like, it's nice when people kind of evolve with us and go, oh, I get it.
Yeah,
It
Dirty
takes some
Laundry's
time.
another one where you hide like a heavy part in that one. The
Yeah,
end of Dirty
yeah.
Laundry is way heavier than the beginning.
Yeah.
For sure.
It's a great one. I blogged that the day it came out, by the way. Music
Did
video.
you?
You're welcome for the views.
Love that.
My favorite song in the album now, I'd Be Fine If I Never Saw You Again.
Yeah.
Cool.
Let's
Thi-
go.
This is the one that I keep going back to and making the American Idiot Black Parade
Yeah.
Parade
Yeah.
comparisons.
Yes.
Love it.
Where
Love it.
I feel like this could easily slot into one of those. I love the guitar riff that opens with it and then goes behind the Leads Me Back to You.
Yep.
It is such a good melancholy, almost famous last words. It evokes those feelings out of me.
Hell yeah.
Right on. Yeah, it was another one of those that riff particularly is like it's very memorable. It stands out and it's like again sort of like Modern Love. It's like this is once people know these songs well, like that's going to be such a great live moment because it's very distinguishable from the rest. And I always kind of look for that in what are going to be great record defining songs.
Where's this along the process of writing and recording the record?
Pretty early on.
Fine's pretty early.
Yeah.
That was probably like, so we wrote PMA in Once in a Lifetime like 3 or 4 months after Wake Up. And we went back in the studio around January, so like 7 months later, and that's when we did like Fine
Yep.
and Lost Along the Way. Are You There?
Did you think about adding PMA to this one or no?
We had talked about it. I mean, it definitely that PMA Once in a Lifetime. Those songs came. I mean, I wrote The Way You Miss Me like the day after writing Once in a Lifetime. So those songs like kind of existed in the same space. And but you know, we weren't ready to put a record out when we put those songs out, and then they lived on their own for so long that it just kind of felt like a bit of a cop out to tag them onto a record. Like I know plenty of artists do it, and it's we considered it for sure, but like it just kind of felt like, you know, they did their thing. They were weirdly enough like became really important songs.
PMA is an opener. Like
Yeah,
PMA
like-
really are very important songs.
And it's like
for a
we
band.
were talking about that on our last run. Like we were opening with that song and kind of laughing about the fact that like the show opener and a song that's become a pretty defining song for us recently isn't on an album. And I think like I don't know, it's just kind of a cool thing.
And I mean, it's a 15-song record, right? So if we're putting 2 more on it, that either makes it 17, which is, you know, a lot, or we have to then cut 2 of the 15. You know what I mean? So it's like, and that 15 is whittled down from, I think on drum day I did 24 songs.
Oh my god.
And then plus a 1 or 2 that I've done since or before that. So that 15 songs is from a batch of almost 30.
Do you guys have trouble narrowing it down and cutting him?
Yeah, I mean this one especially because this to be honest, like this record was kind of written as a double record. Like we were ready to consider putting out a 21, 22 song album.
Don't tell me that. I wish you did.
Well,
I want all the music.
Yeah, we were all stressed about making 15, and fucking Morgan Wallen puts out 36. And it's the best-selling record of all time. I'm like, damn it.
36 is too
So
much.
good.
it's wild. It's so much music. But yeah, like I mean genuinely, Jack said it earlier, but like I think there's going to be a point at which we put out the rest of the music for this record. There's more that kind of rounds the whole thing out. So yeah, this was a tough one to like whittle it down to what's the first thing that everyone's going to hear versus like the big picture of it. But I look forward to that moment. Like I'm really excited for the kind of story to complete itself.
It was a purposeful holdback. So it's not like we have 6 extra songs that are like, they weren't quite as
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
They're just ready for another time, and they're very good.
Are
so.
they like? Do they fit a different theme, or do they go into this theme? If that's, if
I
I'm
think,
allowed
I mean,
to
they're
ask.
very much part of this album. Like it was written
together.
We were ready to put out a 21 song album.
Yeah.
Like, and then we kind of decided to like put it out in 2 phases. And, you know, that second phase hasn't been made. It's official now.
Boom!
official
Breaking news on My Mom's Basement.
There you go. So yeah, there's more.
Kill Your Vibe. Nostalgic sound to me right away. Like
Yeah.
it takes you back. I texted you. I said your drumming in the choruses reminds me of what Taylor Hawkins would have played. If you
Oh,
gave
that's
Taylor Hawkins, the
awesome.
late great Taylor.
You're gonna make
the way
Ryan
you
cry.
go to
Yeah.
the toms in that and
Yeah.
everything feels very
That was
like
a very
Taylor
nice text to
influenced.
get.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And another one where this sounds like a very mature, nothing personal. And I know some bands roll their eyes when we say mature music. 'Cause
Sure.
It makes it sound like it's boring, but it's not.
I love that. This song was a really important one for me. I mean, it's like this song kind of we got in the studio and it sort of just spilled out. Like the whole song was written in probably less than an hour, and it's become a song for me that I find to be really I really love it because I think it's a very real look at love in this day and age, and that's a theme that plays on the record quite a few times. But like this idea that you sort of have, it's that constant struggle of like, is the way I am hurting the person I'm with, and that self-imposed guilt, and then like the realization that sort of both parties in the relationship are feeling that way, and going like, oh, I'm sorry that I drag you down, and it's like it's actually the other person that's lifting them up, and sort of this full circle moment of them both realizing that like they're better together and it's working because of the other one. And it was just kind of a cool image, and I thought it was a nice theme after dealing with a lot of heartbreak on the record.
Yeah.
It was another good one in the same way that like Sound of Letting Go does a thing. This one kind of did a thing of like it's the glue that starts to bind it back together. So yeah,
And it's got a
healing
great
song.
bridge.
I was about to say.
Great
bridge.
bridge on
Bridge.
the
And I
record.
love the ha ha, that
Yeah,
background vocal.
yeah.
That's so great.
It's a very like Jimmy feeling at the beginning there of
Yeah.
the bridge.
Yeah.
I love it.
Did you spell it like nice to know you on purpose?
I
didn't
think
realize
I think I jokingly wrote it like that when we did the demo, and then it just stopped.
Just stuck around.
Yeah,
I didn't know if that was a little connection there. Because they're both upbeat, you know.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's a good point. Okay.
Go with that. Yep.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
The Other Side, another great stomping chorus on this one. And another song that feels like a triumph. Like by the end of this record, the narrator character that we're listening to, dealing with, feels like he's getting one up on whoever he's dealing with.
One of my favorite things about this song is I don't think we've ever had a song that sounds like it. Like it's kind of got like a 80s like kind of dry feeling in the verse, and then the chorus is kind of an early 2000s like pop power like
I was thinking power pop.
power
Yeah,
pop,
it, like, we
a
had-
Kelly Clarkson song or something.
Yeah, we hadn't like in the studio there. That power pop thing really came to the to the foreground, and I was like, nobody's really in this like, you know, as we were writing this record, the quote unquote resurgence of pop punk was really happening, and like, you know, MGK and Kenny Hoopla and Willow and like what they were doing with pop punk and sort of changing it, revolutionizing it, reinventing it was pretty cool. Excuse me. I'm dying. Here we are. I'm back. We're good. Don't rustle the bag.
It's fine. You can't hear it.
Yeah. So it was like what I had noticed was no one had done that early 2000s power pop thing again yet.
Yeah.
And I was like, we should kind of see what happens if we try that.
Yeah,
And
like-
it was fun.
And I like that. And you kind of like in the chorus, you like kind of wailed, and I was like, you haven't really done that in a long time. I feel like you just fucking go and go. It's so good.
Verses definitely make me feel The Weeknd. We did that cover.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I
Definitely.
think it was right around that. Maybe it was right after that where I was like, oh, this feels very kind of like that feeling of like those 80s synths
Yeah.
and just like the pulse.
So when you guys did that cover, a lot of this record was already written, right?
Good amount of it.
So did you
Some of
do
it
the
was coming
cover
together.
because you're like, we were in the Weeknd mood from the record?
A little bit. I think it was like it sort of that inspiration went both ways, and I think part of it was like almost discovery. It was like a discovery project from a production standpoint of like, okay, well, if we take a song like this and All Time Low-ify it, maybe that'll give us some insight on how to make like how to develop the sounds for our own
Like
music.
a reverse engineer thing?
Yeah, so I think that's kind of it was a little bit of that in practice,
Also-
just trying to figure it out.
Alex probably for about 10 years has been saying like we need to get a good cover under our belts. That like when we play a festival, we play Bonnaroo, when we play these festivals that maybe everyone doesn't know us, we can bring them in. Literally for 10 years. And we were up in Canada with Avril, and on the way to rehearsal, he was like, I think we should do a cover of this Weeknd song. And we were like, what? And we had one day of rehearsal for like a few hours, and we just knocked it out that day.
Yeah, I mean it was tricky. We were going to do arenas with Avril, and obviously Avril is like she runs a massive amount of different genres, like, you know, but at the end of the day, she's a pop star, and like I was like, we're going into this as like a band that hasn't played with Avril before, hasn't really dabbled in her world all that much, and I was like, there's going to be like 20,000 people every night ready for like her massive hits, and then like All Time Low has to go out there and grab these people, and I was like, there's a good chance that they're not going to know a lot of our songs. So, you know, and sure enough, like the crowds were amazing, first of all, and did know surprisingly more than I thought they would, but like it was a cool way to just sort of like grab that pop audience. And
something about it, like it feels a little less like pressure when you're playing someone else's song.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh, yeah,
it's,
you're
it's
telling
very like we kind of like forget that we're on stage and we're back in the basement just like learning a Blink cover or whatever. Like it's just we can just relax. Not that we're not relaxed on stage, but it's just we just go out of ourselves when playing that song. It's fun.
It's very fun, yeah.
And then you did All the Small Things cover with Avril.
yeah,
Did
so
that
it
a
was-
couple times.
That was fun. And we, you know, it was on the heels of the festival
When We Were
when we were young. Thank you. The first day got canceled, which was a bummer, and we were like, we had flown in to just kind of hang out, and Avril texted me and was like, we got to do something to like save the day because everybody's day was ruined yesterday, and you know, obviously we're doing it this year, Blink's doing it this year, so we kind of like decided it was a good little tribute for the next year, and yeah, it was fun.
It was awesome. And you played a show on bass for Avril during that tour, right?
I did, yeah. I had to
yeah.
learn 17 songs in 3 days.
What was that like?
Just a lot of sitting in front of my computer going, what the heck is going on here?
That's a
and
lot of
Do you,
songs
do you
to
learn by
learn.
ear? Do you look up tabs? Like,
I just learned by ear.
I figured. Lame. I look up tabs.
Spent a lot of time in
He's
my
got a
mom's
songbook
basement as
up
well.
there.
I DM Zach and I'm like, can you
I
write
had
out tabs?
it's-
for
You
this?
tab this for me?
I showed up with 3 pages of notes, and like the musical director was like, "That's all you have?" And I was like, "Yeah." I was like, "I got everything else." And it was basically like starts on A and ends here. Like
Yeah.
that's all my notes were. I was like,
Yeah.
It's a cool experience watching that because we were obviously on the tour, but it's very rare. I mean, I don't know if it's ever happened that I've watched one of these guys do a whole set. I mean, obviously
Yeah.
with their other bands, but like just filling in.
Yeah.
Like
Didn't-
Alex used to
didn't you
sing
play
on like Warped.
Didn't you play
Story
with Story of the Year? Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
It's a cool thing to watch. Yeah.
There was Phil had to go for a few days left the tour, and so they had some friends filling in. Like, I think I only learned like 3 songs. Like they just rotated out a few different guitarists, but it was very fun.
Like, the first day we started our band, we were at a Story of the Year show.
Yeah.
So that was like a really cool
moment.
Actually,
yeah.
what was it? What were they called?
Oh, they're just
Big Blue Monkey.
But they just
Really?
changed their name to Story of the Year. Yeah.
But no, I always love that. Like when
Yeah.
you've filled in the past, like drumming for a band or anything, like
it's fun.
it's a really unique opportunity. Like
no one's ever asked me. We're talking about how Alex has done it, Zach's done it, Ryan's done it, and I'm just like,
I even filled in
can
for
do the
you,
whammy
Jack.
pedal.
yeah, Zach even filled in for me.
Jack went
once.
out on stage for Tom Morello and worked his whammy pedal.
I asked Ryan to fill in for Pup Punk because Frankie can't do the festival,
know.
but
I wish
you
I
guys
could,
can't.
man.
Yeah,
We got a
unfortunately.
Sorry, I also play in a band.
Yeah.
That would have been sick,
Unreal.
dude.
That would have been unreal.
sick.
Yeah, I mean,
It's nice though. I love like watching you guys play. Like
It's
when
cool.
you're doing it for another artist, like I'll literally stand in the crowd and
Yeah.
go like, "Oh, he's really good."
Yeah, it's fun.
like a proud parent.
Yeah, it's like you don't realize it when you're so used to playing with the same guys for your entire career. It's like it just hits different when you go and actually watch them do it separate from your own thing. It's very cool.
Yeah.
I go like, "Oh wow, he's good."
The final song in the record, Lost Along the Way. So, being that this was maybe pushed to not be the final song by Nano, was this written? Were you thinking this will be the last song when you write that opening line?
When we wrote it, it definitely was. We had discussed it.
Yeah, it very much felt like it was kind of like Tell Me I'm Alive, just feeling like the opening track. Like this definitely felt like it was the one to wind down the record with, at least in its current form.
And most importantly, we just wanted Nano to be wrong.
Yeah, of course.
So we
Get
got
one
what we
over on your
wanted, yeah.
manager. And I like that the drums come in right away on this one. When I first listened to it, I almost pictured it to be like a Glitter and Crimson vibe where like the last chorus goes in, but the whole song is kind of that same, goes along the same vibe.
This one, I mean, in the best way possible. It's one of my favorite records is Lovely Little Lonely.
Yep.
And this feels like it would fit in that kind of universe for me. So I did kind of channel a little bit of Pat's simplicity and like his discipline on this song as well. As a very good drummer, good friend.
Very nice. And is there any kind of ground control connection here? Space Talk.
Yeah, there actually was. I kind of at one point or another thought about calling it like Ground Control Part 2 or something like that, just to
Oh,
mess
yeah,
with people.
sequel.
But yes, there is definitely there's a connection there. For
I
sure.
like a good sequel when a band puts out one.
A
Anthem Part
squeakquel?
2, baby.
Yeah, and part 3 coming apparently.
That's what I've
Oh,
heard.
Yeah,
That's right.
a trilogy.
You know what I think? What makes you good at this
What?
is that you kind of look at music through the eyes of someone that's obsessed with like the Marvel universe or whatever. Like you know what
Maybe,
I mean? You like to connect.
I'm a nerd about it. You can say it.
but but in a cool way. It's like a different look.
Ryan
of,
always
like,
fines a way to bully our interviewers.
No, I'm
He
just
does.
like it's a big
He
compliment.
texted me yesterday. He said, "Are you excited to meet the drummer all time low?" I said, "No, I'm intimidated." Dude. I said, "I'm intimidated."
But no, it's a cool thing. Like you look at it from a different viewpoint of like it's not just music; it's like canon, and you think of it like that. It's really cool.
Where does this leave the narrator then? If we're talking about canon, do you view this as like a super optimistic ending to the album? Do you view it as he's still lost?
I mean, in the context of this song, it's sort of about a person reflecting back on their life at the end of their life. It's kind of like the record is the life and times of this person and the journey that they went on. After hitting a wall, they said, "Well, fuck it, I'm going to run through the wall." And then they made all these mistakes and all these crazy choices just to feel something. And in there, they found some glimmers of hope and some love and some life. And this song kind of summarizes all that. They kind of look back, they're reflecting as they sort of drift off, and basically
Pass
say,
away peacefully.
basically coming to terms and being like, it's okay, it's all okay. I mean,
Again, though, like not to keep going back to this album, but it's one of my favorites of all time. That's like What's Her Name on American Idiot for me, where like that evokes the same looking back at the entire record emotion, and
Right
I
on.
love that it feels like a complete work again, like Wake Up Sunshine did.
for sure.
Well, that's what we grew up. We grew up listening to bands that had full bodies of work. We didn't grow up in the era of singles.
I hate
and
the
all
single
that.
era.
Yeah, and sometimes like I've opened my mind to it with PMA and Once in a Lifetime, and it actually worked out pretty well. And like Birthday and songs like that.
Yeah, it's fun every now and then because you don't have to be beholden to a body of work. But
Yeah, but we still want to continue doing what we do and what we grew up listening to, and that's making records.
yeah,
Do you have a favorite lyric on the album? Question for everybody. And I'm really putting everyone else on the spot for them to remember.
I
lyrics.
liked made a record just to make the sunshine.
I was gonna
Like
say
that,
yeah,
one
that one's
was- and I
great.
love that song.
hits hard.
yeah.
I'd say the chorus of Other Side.
Yep.
There's a lot of great lines in there.
Go ahead and recite the whole thing. Go.
Oh boy! Do you remember when we did that MTV thing years ago, where it was like
You and I had to-
it was Alex and Zach and me and Ryan, and we had to say our lyrics from memory. So me and Ryan had
like
to wait.
Weightless and Dear
It
Maria.
is-
It
it
wasn't
is
like Deep Cut.
astonishing.
Yeah,
Me and
wasn't
Ryan
hard.
had to waitlist, and it was
Maybe it's not my year. Wait,
dude.
It's
we
astonishing how
couldn't
bad.
even get through verse 1.
I did that
wild.
on The Dozen. We have a trivia show here at Barstool
Yeah.
with teams and everything, and I used All Time Low as my niche, and it was finish the lyrics to the first verse of Break Your Little Heart.
Oh yeah, I remember that. I
Yeah,
remember
got
seeing
it right
that.
instantly. Yeah.
That's
did you do it
amazing.
live? Was that the one you did at?
So that wasn't we did a Terminal 5
Yeah, yeah.
live
That's
Dozen
so
show.
sick,
That
man.
wasn't
So
that
sick.
one. But I can't come to the Red Rock show because the Dozen tournament is happening that same day, and I think I'm going to use All Time Low as my niche just as a little tribute.
That's fair.
My final question, and I ask this to all musicians. I might have asked this to you on the podcast before, but as a full band, I'd like your answer. Noel Gallagher, one of my favorites of Oasis, says that he summed up everything he ever wanted to say in his life with rock and roll star, cigarettes and alcohol, and live forever.
Wow.
Everything after that, he says he's just repeating himself. If you could pick 3 all-time Low songs that sum up everything you've ever wanted to say, which 3 would you land on?
That's Alex, go ahead.
Amazing. That's an incredible question. Weightless would have to be
Yeah, I
in
was gonna
there.
say Weightless has to.
Wow. This
Maybe,
is
maybe Therapy.
It's a good one.
maybe.
Would you put like Guts on there? I know you're a big
Yeah,
Guts
I
guy.
think Guts would have to go in for sure. Yeah, Weightless, Guts, and I'm gonna go with Tell Me I'm Alive.
Oh, nice.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's a great question,
Yeah.
man. I like that.
Thank you. All right, guys.
good.
That was Tell Me I'm Alive. Go stream the album now. Go listen to the album. Go see All Time Low. If you're not competing in the Dozen, go see them at Red Rocks. I think it's
May I
sold out,
suggest
but you
get
can find
yourself a
tickets.
chair that reclines like this when you listen.
This
to
is the
the
most
record.
relaxed
Maybe
interview
we
I've
should
ever.
run this back, but let me and Zach get up here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See how we
Try this chair
see how
out.
it
We'll
changes.
swap it. Yeah. All right. Thanks, guys.
Thank you so much, man.
Thank you, brother.